Most people spend over $200 a year on fertilizer bags and lawn treatments, and their grass still looks half dead by the middle of summer. If your lawn looks done for, stick around. Before this video ends, you'll know 5 fertilizers that cost almost nothing, that you probably already have around the house, and that can bring a dying lawn back in days instead of months. And if you find this useful, do me a favor and hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Now let's get into it. A lawn that's gone brown and patchy isn't usually dead. It's starving. Grass needs nitrogen to stay green, potassium to handle stress like heat and foot traffic, and magnesium to keep its color from fading out. When a lawn runs short on even one of these, growth stalls and the grass starts to look like it's giving up. Soil scientists have a simple way of explaining this. A plant only grows as well as its most limited nutrient allows, no matter how much of everything else is available. So a lawn can be sitting on plenty of phosphorus and still look terrible because it's missing nitrogen. The good news is that almost everything a lawn is missing can be replaced using things sitting in your kitchen or garage right now. Commercial lawn companies don't want you to know this, because there's no profit margin in a banana peel or a bag of used coffee grounds. There's a reason this knowledge mostly survives with older gardeners and small-scale farmers instead of on the shelf at the hardware store. Before we get into the 5 methods, go ahead and like this video and subscribe, because the next part is where things actually start working. Every time you mow, you're throwing away the cheapest nitrogen fertilizer available to you. Fresh grass clippings are loaded with nitrogen, the exact nutrient responsible for that deep green color and for pushing new growth. The trick is that clippings left to sit on the lawn or tossed in the trash take weeks to break down and release anything useful. Soaking them speeds that process up dramatically. Fill a 5-gallon bucket about a third of the way with fresh clippings, then top it off with water and let it sit for 2 to 3 days, stirring once a day. The water will turn a murky green and start to smell a little like fresh cut hay. That smell means the nitrogen and other nutrients have moved out of the grass and into the liquid, which means your lawn can absorb it through the roots right away instead of waiting on the clippings to decompose first. Strain out the solids, dilute the liquid by about half with clean water, and pour it over patchy or yellowing areas. Within 4 to 6 days, you'll usually see a noticeable shift toward a deeper green, especially in spots that were thinning out. The biggest mistake people make is using clippings from grass that's been treated with weed killer recently, since that chemical residue carries straight into the tea and can do more harm than good. Stick to clippings from grass you haven't sprayed in the last month, and this works as a steady, free source of nitrogen all season long. Magnesium doesn't get talked about much in lawn care, but it's sitting at the center of chlorophyll, which is the compound responsible for the green color in every blade of grass. When magnesium runs low, grass tends to look pale or yellowish even when it's getting enough water and nitrogen. This is one of those problems that looks like a watering issue or a disease but is actually just a missing mineral. Epsom salt, which is magnesium sulfate, fixes this directly and quickly. Dissolve about 2 tablespoons of Epsom salt into a gallon of water and either spray it over the lawn or water it in evenly with a hose attachment. Unlike synthetic fertilizers that can burn grass if applied too heavily, Epsom salt is forgiving, which makes it a safe option even for someone who's never fertilized a lawn before. The effect usually shows up within about a week, with grass picking up a richer color and handling heat stress noticeably better. One thing worth knowing here is that Epsom salt fixes magnesium deficiency specifically. If your lawn's yellowing is actually caused by a nitrogen shortage or a watering problem, Epsom salt alone won't solve it, so it works best alongside the other methods on this list, rather than as a standalone fix. There's a popular myth that coffee grounds make soil too acidic for grass. Used coffee grounds, the kind already run through a coffee maker, are almost neutral, sitting close to the pH range most lawns actually prefer. What used coffee grounds are genuinely good for is improving the texture of compacted soil and feeding the microorganisms that keep a lawn's root system healthy. Sprinkle a thin, even layer of used grounds over thinning patches, then rake them in lightly so they sit just under the surface instead of clumping on top of the blades. Earthworms are drawn to coffee grounds, and earthworm activity is one of the best natural indicators of healthy, well-aerated soil. As the grounds break down over the following weeks, they release nitrogen slowly and steadily, which works well alongside the faster-acting grass clipping tea from earlier. The mistake to avoid here is piling the grounds on too thick in one spot, since a heavy layer can mat down and block water and air from reaching the soil underneath. A light, even spread across problem areas, repeated every couple of weeks, is what actually moves the needle. Sometimes a lawn isn't missing nutrients at all, it's missing access to them, because the soil underneath has become so compacted that water, air, and fertilizer can't reach the roots. This is incredibly common on lawns that get regular foot traffic or that sit on heavier clay soil. A simple, low-cost way to loosen compacted soil is mixing about 2 tablespoons of plain dish soap into a gallon of water and pouring it slowly over the affected area before watering thoroughly. The soap acts as a mild surfactant, breaking the surface tension of the water so it penetrates deeper into compacted ground instead of running off or pooling on top. This isn't a nutrient fix on its own, but it makes every other fertilizer on this list work better, because none of them matter if they can't actually reach the roots. Lawn care professionals do something similar with core aeration machines that physically punch holes into the soil, but for a smaller yard or a budget approach, the dish soap method gets water and nutrients moving again within a single treatment. Apply this before using grass clipping tea or coffee grounds for the best results, since loosened soil absorbs both far more efficiently. This is the oldest method on the list, and it's the one that comes closest to replacing a full bag of store-bought fertilizer. Aged manure, never fresh, contains a broad mix of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and trace minerals that grass needs to fully recover, not just patch over symptoms. The method is simple. Take a shovel of aged manure, the kind that's been sitting for several months and no longer smells strongly, and tie it into a porous sack like an old pillowcase or mesh bag. Drop the sack into a 5-gallon bucket of water and let it steep for 3 to 5 days, stirring occasionally. The water will turn the color of weak tea, which means the nutrients have transferred out of the solid manure and into a liquid form the grass can take up immediately. Dilute the finished tea further, roughly 1 part tea to 10 parts clean water, and pour it evenly across the lawn, focusing on the most damaged patches. Fresh manure is the one thing to avoid completely here, since it carries too much ammonia and can scorch grass within a couple of days instead of helping it. Aged, properly diluted manure tea applied once every 2 to 3 weeks during the growing season is often enough to bring a struggling lawn back to a full, even green within a month. None of these 5 methods cost much, and most of them use things that would otherwise end up in the trash. Grass clippings give a fast dose of nitrogen. Epsom salt fixes the magnesium that's responsible for color. Coffee grounds build long-term soil health and feed the organisms underground that keep grass strong. Dish soap loosens compacted soil so everything else actually reaches the roots. And manure tea, used the right way, delivers the broadest nutrient reset of them all. The lawns that recover fastest usually aren't getting one of these treatments. They're getting 2 or 3 in rotation over a few weeks, starting with the soap to open up the soil, then layering in the clipping tea or manure tea for nutrients, with coffee grounds and Epsom salt filling in the gaps in between. If your lawn has patches that look like they're past saving, give one of these a try before assuming it's time to reseed from scratch. Most of the time, the grass isn't dead. It's just waiting on something it hasn't been getting. If this helped, like the video, leave a comment with which method you're trying first, and subscribe for more of this kind of practical, no-nonsense advice. Thanks for watching, and good luck with the lawn.